सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः। अष्टविनायक नमो नमः। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः। अष्टविनायक नमो नमः। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः। अष्टविनायक नमो नमः। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः। अष्टविनायक नमो नमः। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः। अष्टविनायक नमो नमः। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः। अष्टविनायक नमो नमः। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः। अष्टविनायक नमो नमः। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम गं गणपतये नमो नमः। श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः। अष्टविनायक नमो नमः। गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। जय गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। जय गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। जय गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। जय गणपति बाप्पा मोरिया। ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय।
सावरिया रे सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया।
रे सावरिया रे सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया।
सावरिया पीताम्बर धारी रे
सावरिया पीताम्बर धारी रे।
सावरिया पीताम्बर धारी रे
सावरिया पीताम्बर धारी रे।
सावरिया रे सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया।
सावरिया रे सावरिया रे सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया।
तो माखन चोर गिरधारी रे सावरिया।
तू माखन चोर गिरधारी रे सावरिया।
तो माखन चोर गिरधारी रे सावरिया।
तू माखन चोर गिरधारी रे सावरिया।
सावरिया पीताम्बर धारी रे
सावरिया पीताम्बर धारी रे।
सावरिया पीताम्बर धारी रे
सावरिया पीताम्बर धारी रे।
सावरिया रे सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया।
तेरा गरुदा ऊपर अष्टवारी रे सावरिया।
तेरा गरुड़ ऊपर सवारी रे सावरिया।
ऊपर सवारी रे सावरिया
तेरा गरुड़ ऊपर सवारी रे सावरिया
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया
तो शंख चक्रधारी रे सावरिया तो
शंख चक्रधारी रे सावरिया
तो शंख चक्रधारी रे सावरिया तो
शंख चक्रधारी रे सावरिया
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया
तो हर दुखियन रखवाला रे सावरिया
तू हर दुखियन रखवाला रे सावरिया
तो हर दुखियन रखवाला रे सावरिया
तू हर दुखियन रखवाला रे सावरिया
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया रे सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया रे तो हर दुखियन रखवाला रे सावरिया तो
हर दुखियन रखवाला रे सावरिया
तो हर दुखियन रखवाला रे सावरिया तो
हर दुखियन रखवाला रे सावरिया
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर धारी रे
सावरिया पीतांबर
धारी रे सावरिया रे सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया रे सावरिया रे
सावरिया रे सावरिया
ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय।
मोको का ढूंढे बंदे मैं तो हूँ तेरे पास में मोको का ढूंढे बंदे मैं तो हूँ तेरे पास में मोको का श्वास में मोह का ढूंढे बंदे मैं तो हूँ तेरे पास में मोह का ढूंढे बंदे खोज हो तुरंत मिल जाऊं एक पल की तलाश में खोज हो तुरंत मिल जाऊं एक पल की तलाश में कहे कबीर सुनो भाई साधो कहे कबीर सुनो भाई साधो मैं तो हूँ विश्वास में मोह का ढूंढे बंदे मैं तो हूँ तेरे पास में मोह का ढूंढे बंदे मैं तो हूँ तेरे पास में मोह का ढूंढे बंदे। ओम श्री राम कृष्ण भगवान की जय।
Om Namo Narayana to all friends and respected elders. The topic for this morning is mental health and the Bhagavad Gita. One remembers Swami Ranganathananda when he said, "The wheels of progress revolves faster and faster day after day, and man everywhere is feeling dazed and unable to find his bearings. He finds himself deep in a situation where his past is unrecoverable, his present is uncertain, and his future an interrogation. Never in human history has man experienced so much darkness around him in the midst of all-round uncertainty, and so much loneliness in the midst of an environing crowd. The modern crisis is thus essentially a spiritual crisis, and man is seeking for light to lead him out of the encircling gloom. His heart is crying out for truth and for light. All these facts indicate that the whole world is in the throes of a silent spiritual revolution. Thus one needs a spiritual response to the present pandemic. And for Hindus, the most important source for the solution is the Bhagavad Gita. Further, one also needs at this stage for an individual response, because each individual will respond to the pandemic differently. In chapter 6, verse 5 of the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, "Let a man raise himself by himself, let him not drag himself down, for he himself is his own friend, and he himself is his enemy." Thus the obligation is on every individual to take the responsibility to be loving, pleasant, and friendly to one's own self, to be positive and uplifting. Unfortunately, it is easier to be self-critical and deprecating to oneself, and this leads very easily to shame and guilt and negativity. So what is the solution? There are two important concepts to keep in mind: the goal and the method of the goal. With regard to the goal, it will be fair to say that every person wants to be calm, happy, and positive. There are many techniques to reach this goal. Sri Krishna states in verse 17 of chapter 6, "Success in yoga is for him who is moderate in eating and recreation, temperate in his efforts and actions, who is regulated in sleep and wakefulness. Then yoga becomes a destroyer of pain and unhappiness." Mental illness can affect any person at any stage in life. One of the greatest authors and rishis in Hinduism was sage Vedvyasa. He has the most stunning list of achievements. He collated and put in a systematic order the 4 Vedas, and this alone is a task of a lifetime. In addition, he wrote the Mahabharata, which includes the Bhagavad Gita. Further, he wrote the 18 Puranas. After completing these monumental tasks, he still felt incomplete and unfulfilled. This great sage, who was intellectually and philosophically adept in all the scriptures, finds himself in a downcast and depressed state of mind. Another wise and illumined sage, Sage Narada, who is famous for the Bhakti Sutras named after him, the Narada Bhakti Sutras, approached him to assist. Sage Narada advised him then to write the Srimad Bhagavatam, which sets out the early life of Sri Krishna and the loving and devotional aspects of Sri Krishna's life. Sage Vedvyasa wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam, and thereafter he felt complete peace and fulfillment. It is important to note that Sage Vyasa was a genius in his own right, yet he himself could not diagnose his problems and not find a solution. He needed the guidance and assistance of another. One can imagine how great Sage Narada was. He could analyze the problem accurately and offer productive and positive advice. Another example is that of M. Mahendranath Gupta, who is the author of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. This scripture is unique amongst the religions of the world. M listened personally to all the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna and faithfully and accurately recorded these teachings whenever he met the Master. All the household devotees of Sri Ramakrishna the world over study and attempt to follow the teachings and are inspired by them. It is interesting to note how M met Sri Ramakrishna. He was living with his wife in an extended family household and was going through such domestic problems that they decided to leave their home. He went to live at the home of a relative but was seriously contemplating suicide. M was a school headmaster, in other words, a learned man, who will not make a rushed and rash decision. He must have thought about the consequences of his actions, but due to the darkness he was embroiled in, could not see any light at the end of the tunnel. His nephew, who he was living with, suggested that they visit a holy man who was living at a nearby temple. This was the Dakshineshwara temple built by Rani Rasmani, where Sri Ramakrishna was living. After the first meeting with Sri Ramakrishna, M felt a deep and loving connection with the Master and then visited him constantly and uplifted himself with the blessings of the Master. These are two clear examples that anybody can be affected by negative mental health. But they found solutions to their problems in that they sought and obtained advice from proper and qualified experts and followed the advice of the experts to the best of their ability. Too often we hear, too late, of friends and family who were having difficulties but refused to seek help. They are experts who know how to treat medical conditions like heart and kidney problems, or people who have building problems and have to go to engineers or plumbers, or people who have to go and seek advice for legal problems. Likewise, there are experts who treat mental or emotional problems who are there willing to help. How then can one befriend one's mind? There are 4 ways. Firstly, one should attempt to meditate on a daily basis. If you are initiated, you will follow the guidelines of your guru. In his book Raja Yoga, Swami Vivekananda gives many valuable suggestions based on chapter 6 of the Gita. He states that those who can afford to have a room for prayer and meditation must place flowers in it, as they are the best surroundings for a yogi. Also pictures that are pleasing. Have no quarreling, no anger, no unholy thoughts in that room. Then generally there will be an atmosphere of holiness in the room, so that when you are down, sorrowful, doubtful, or your mind is disturbed, the very fact of entering the room will make you calm. You will find that the easiest way to make ourselves healthy is to help others become healthy, and the easiest way to make ourselves happy is to help others become happy. Swami Yatishwarananda of the Ramakrishna Order has written a classic book called Meditation and Spiritual Life. He was based in Switzerland and Germany and wrote for his devotees there. His advice is, you must learn to manipulate your own mind. You know what upsets you and what you enjoy. Try always to create circumstances to your satisfaction and do not upset and aggravate others. Try to be simple and straightforward and do not be conceited and hypocritical. Depend on good people and stay away from those who are impatient and are always critical and complaining. The second method is that we have to always be working for the purposes of study or to earn a living. We must carry out our duties in a calm, skillful, and pleasant manner. Sri Sarada Devi advises that one should be busy every minute of the day, and she began her day at 3 a.m. every morning. Human beings are strange combinations of various elements. According to William James, most persons have many different social selves. We have dual, even multiple personalities. We are one self in business, another at the ashram, still another at home. We hesitate to do in public what we would gladly do in private. Our many selves are sometimes quite incompatible with one another and create endless internal confusion for us. If we separate our private and public lives and follow opposite codes of conduct, we pay a heavy penalty in the form of restlessness and bondage. There are false duties and real duties, and it is not always easy to determine which action is right and which is wrong. Swami Vivekananda states, to give an objective definition of duty is entirely impossible. Yet there is duty from the subjective side. Any action that makes us go Godward is a good action, and it is our duty. Any action that makes us go downwards is evil, and it is not our duty. The Hindu view teaches each man to take things as they are, find out his own capacity, discover the truth of his own being, and then follow his law of growth, his swadharma. He will be then able to chalk out a clear chart of duty for himself and to society. Sometimes the problem is that some people want to become teachers without undergoing a strict course of sadhana, without becoming pure instruments in the hands of the Lord. We should first come to know the Lord ourselves and be able to solve our own problems and then help others. By our very behavior, we can help others silently by radiating truth. The third method is that of knowledge. A little of the student life has to be continued even after our school days. Many people lose their thinking habit when they leave school or grow older. There is nothing so dangerous as loose, hazy thinking. Having lost their thinking habit, they become only men of action and not men of thought. Both should be combined and harmonized. You will see the effects of this when you follow any higher ideal or have deep understanding of truth and higher laws. So even if we do not find time to read, much intense thinking must be done as a matter of daily practice. It is advisable for everybody not only to find time for his prayers, japa and meditation, but also to have some regular studies, some readings from the various scriptures, for at least 10 minutes after his spiritual practice. The fourth stage is the easiest and that recommended by the Master Sri Ramakrishna. Swami Nischalananda, the founder and first president of the Ramakrishna Center, states that kirtan and the recital of the Lord's divine name means a constant repetition of the Lord's name in a spirit of intense devotion. The individual opens himself to a powerful and harmonious vibration which has a calming and peaceful effect on the mind. The mind is thereby purified and thoughts are stilled and consciousness is raised to a higher spiritual level. The effect produced within us also has a deep and revitalizing influence on all those around us. The vibrations produced by the mantric chants promote a greater harmony in the physical and mental state of the individual. Lack of physical and mental harmony is a cause of disease and nervous ailments. The vast majority of people, the world over, are suffering from various forms of nervous ailments and its results: restlessness, frustration, irritability, anger, fear, and so on. Thus, mental and physical equilibrium is essential for the spiritual development of the individual. This harmonious working of the body and mind is necessary for the spiritual development, and yoga stresses the threefold development of the individual: physical, mental, and spiritual. Singing the Lord's name is considered the easiest method to acquire the state of equilibrium. Sri Ramakrishna says, "As long as I live, I learn." Thank you.
Om कन्हैया 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 तुझे आना पड़ेगा वचन गीता वाला निभाना पड़ेगा कन्हैया 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 तुझे आना पड़ेगा वचन गीता वाला निभाना पड़ेगा गोकुल में आया मथुरा में आया गोकुल में आया मथुरा में आया कभी प्यारी प्यारी कही तो दिखाए कभी प्यारी प्यारी कही तो दिखाए अरे सावरे देख आके जरा सोनी सोनी परी है तेरी द्वारका कन्हैया 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 तुझे आना पड़ेगा वचन गीत वाला निभाना पड़ेगा जमुना के पानी में हलचल नहीं जमुना के पानी में हलचल नहीं मधुवन में पहला सजल थल नहीं मधुवन में पहला सजल थल नहीं वही कुंज गलिया वही कुंज गलिया वही गोपिया चलत की मगर कोई छागल नहीं
dear sisters and brothers, let us sit calmly for a few moments and fix our minds on God. Lord Krishna says, "There is no spiritual understanding for the uncontrolled, nor can he meditate. Without meditation, there is no peace, and without peace, how can one have happiness? Just as a gale carries away a ship on the waters, the mind that yields to the wandering senses carries away one's discrimination. Therefore, O mighty armed, O Arjuna, his wisdom is steady whose senses are completely restrained from their objects." Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरि ओम तत्सत्।
जय श्री गुरु महाराज की
जय।
महामाई की
जय।
स्वामी जी महाराज की
जय।
गंगा मात की
जय।
महावीर स्वामी जी की
जय।
सर्व ऋषि मुनीन की
जय। पार्वती पतये